some of the stuff that we were, some of the, there's a calendar, right? It's dated. That makes me look really bad. Yeah, last year's stuff.
Yeah, except it does. And actually, that's something we talked about. The idea of having a year-long church calendar published. And the idea that the stuff way out there is tentative, but the stuff, but it gives an idea, it gives a direction.
Hi.
We're not sure this is yours.
I think ours was, a lot of it is also.
Hey, just give me a look out in here.
But she said about
looking at our kids, and she's just like, just don't look at it. And then Braylon leaves. Congratulations, by the way.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. We are going to get started with this last kind of wrap-up part of the session. And so each of the 4 breakout groups met. Jimmy had a chance to meet with the online group as well. And as you know, each group was supposed to kind of narrow down all of your ideas and brainstorming towards that one project to work on. And so what I want to do is have each of the facilitators talk about, okay, tell us, what is that one project that you and your group has come up with to work on? And then we report it across each of the different groups, and then we'll give a chance to talk a bit as well about them. It gives us a chance to kind of think about our next kind of plan of action for the church. So I think I'm gonna start this direction. So Ann, I'm gonna let you go first.
Set the bar.
So I'm group 3, and I was hoping to like piggyback off of other people's approach. So we had a really great conversation and brainstormed really well, and then we failed at the part where we were supposed to prioritize. So hopefully I'm giving permission for other group leaders to say the same thing. So I would say what I noticed overall, though, is we were thinking very deliberately about what it means to invite people in to this space, and how we would do that, and how outreach works together with that. And so we mentioned things as sort of incidental seeming, as saying have food at every event. That was actually one of our top vote getters. Very simple thing to do potentially. We're all used to pitching in. We can continue to pitch in. We said some things that were also very simple. Was our top vote getter that we could work on right away was attend events in the community together as a group. So like have a St. Mark's, banner. Jimmy can have a special umbrella he holds up, and we all gather around him. And so these are very easy to implement things. We did touch the third rail of music as an outreach issue. And so that was actually one of our other top priorities. And we sort of faltered, though, in talking about how we went out into the community to do things. And that's where we really started actually, I think, almost arguing, Methodist arguing, about what that would look like. So but I thought the overall theme was very clear. We want to think more purposefully about what we do when we invite people here, and making sure that the things that we offer them appeal to a large group of people and make them feel like they want to come back. Where we weren't quite so clear on what we wanted to do was when we went out into the community. And I think actually I'm going to speak for the group and say our disagreement means we need to talk about that.
All right, thank you. And I was able to go into that room, and they've got tons of ideas. And so it was nice to see a lot of the ideas that come up. So find ways to go out into the community, okay? Any comments from the rest of us? Any initial thoughts? Jim?
One of the things we talked about in our group is we have your worship. One of the things we talked about was having people from Thriving Connections, Food Bank, and so forth, other places to be able to come in and talk about what they do and explain how to get involved and help if that's what we wanted to do. So maybe that's a way to go out and start with specific organizations, maybe.
Okay. I'm sorry, Tony, did you have something?
Say, inside joke. We could resurrect mission moments, which were very useful. Yeah, we've been having them.
Okay, so we still have some ways that we can think about which specific ones to get involved with. And what I want to do is let's go to the others, okay? And we'll see if we can, I think, based on some of the discussions across rooms, there were some similarities in terms of how some of the groups were starting to think about things, which I thought was great. Okay, so let's have Diane. Hoping not to go next.
All right, our area of discussion was primarily education. And I think there was a huge feeling that in order to get the younger group of people involved in the church, it was to provide childcare. So whether it be in the evenings when we have special events, maybe, or even have a young adult get together, that the church find a way to provide childcare. And that would attract a lot of younger people because they would have a place to take their children, and then they could commune among themselves. Another would be maybe in like the forum setting of just throwing out topics, like maybe for one age group, one topic is more important, and maybe we could have during the Sunday school hour, 9:30 or so, those people that are interested in delving into, Marlene, you had an interesting topic. The young adults may have one on, what affects them and raising children. So a variety of topics, and maybe we could find out what those topics would be through Realm or through a Zoom meeting, that people could share what they're interested in, and then we would set up something like that. The other topic that was brought up is as far as for youth, to attract youth, and I'm talking now more about the middle school, high school, that we need someone that has an interface with the Bloomington community, that they would maybe know more about what's going on in Bloomington, and maybe those youth would feel more like participating in something through St. Mark's. We had lots of markers going on in the room, so I think you'll find a lot of suggestions.
So I want to follow up. So what do you mean by have somebody in the Bloomington community speak to the?
Yes, I think that the middle school, high school age, they need to feel a connection with Bloomington. And so they tend to do that. They're either in Bloomington South, Bloomington North, Tri-North, Bachelor, Jackson Creek. So they need someone that to lead them that is familiar with Bloomington. A youth director, yes.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate. Why do you think that's important?
Because that's where the kids are.
Okay.
That their mindset is with they know what's going on, pretty much.
Right.
And so they need a person that can speak their language. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Charlotte.
I was going to say, this time you might need more than one.
Hayden.
One that knows the sports activities that are on. One that knows the music activities in Bloomington for kids. You might need a team to actually help you.
I think that there's probably a great need to get that age group involved. And it's hard to do because they have lots of other activities. It's just a thought that maybe that would help keeping those children interested.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, thanks. I'm trying to think about how to capture all of that.
I want to give this back. I don't want it. Yeah.
Some of the things we want to leverage, the activities the schools are already doing, but bring in the St. Mark's community into those areas.
Okay.
So we don't have to create unique to St. Mark's or just make up reasons to get together. As you mentioned, if there is a concert or a play at South or North, you could potentially organize activities to enjoy or participate in those existing activities.
Okay.
Leverage the resources at the MCCS or RBB level to bring the community of St. Mark's and the kids already in St. Mark's together and do those events. I believe it's important.
You also had one older person who mentioned.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Could we put mics on anybody who's commenting so the people on the internet know exactly what's being said?
Hello. We also had one older person who had suggested that there, as well as some things going on for kids and youth, there are also some things that are going on and that could be co-opted by, St. Mark's participating in them for some things for some older people. Having mentioned a title of a text that's called Living Toward Dying, as being something that some older person might be interested in hearing more about, and having St. Mark's help promote that so that more people that, as somebody said, we have most everybody here is over 50, that we have people who might need to be hearing stuff like that. And so I wanted to be, because she was not assertive and aggressive like I am sometimes.
Okay, so let me go back to this group, and we had the 3, the 2, the 1, the one thing we can do right now. So I want to make sure I understand. So I heard if we have events for young adults, we need to have childcare, and it might help bring more parents to the church, become aware of St. Mark's, get involved potentially. If their kids like it, it gives them, whether it's a single parent or any kind of parent, it gives them a night out while their kids may be engaged here. And then if I understand correctly, because I eavesdropped in the room, that you get college students, and maybe these college students weren't as aware of St. Mark's, but have them volunteer to offer that child care here at St. Mark's. And so you're getting kind of purposely these other groups involved. So that was one, correct? And the other one is we need to have some of these connection activities, whether they are for one type of demographic or another, and leverage what's going on in the community, correct? Okay. So is there one or the other you would focus on right away?
I would say the majority is the child care need.
Yeah.
Child care. Okay. Okay, so this essentially is the kind of an additional thing, okay? But, okay, if we wanted to set these priorities, this would be our top one. Okay, good. Brenda.
I was with this is Brenda Bailey Hughes. I was with the worship group, and they had a misguided facilitator who didn't lead like we were supposed to. So our one thing that we could do immediately isn't our top priority. It was literally just, we were looking for some low-hanging fruit that could happen tomorrow, and that was get the kids to ring the bells again in service, ring them back in, not the bell choir, but just ring them back in. And you'll see where we came up with that, I think, in some of our work. So the 3 most important things probably, though, were around music and then involvement of different groups. And so the music conversation began with an attempt to broaden the spectrum of music styles within the existing service. And we think there needs to be more conversation around that. We recognize that in doing that, it's very challenging to maintain the quality and to maintain the integrity of a service if you're plopping in all sorts of music, and it's impossible to make everyone happy. And so then that evolved to our second main music theme for worship, which was to explore a second, I'm not looking at Jimmy and Mary Beth, was to explore a second service with a completely different style, because we recognize that people from different ethnic groups, or particularly that young adult group, it may not just be the music, but a lot of worship elements that aren't resonating with them and their community right now. So exploring varieties of music and a second service and putting that in our immediate action would be to form a group to discuss that, I suppose. And then 2 ideas that we thought could be developed soon that weren't related specifically to music were being attentive to, maybe even growing intentionally, our internet community, to consider our live stream feed not just a temporary, oops, we can't meet in person, but an actual community that we try to build. And we had some specific ideas on how to do that, including, and we were thinking that internet community broadly as shut-ins, young people who just don't want to be in the church at that early, young families who couldn't find Jimmy's shoes, that they might benefit from having some tangible artifacts sent to their homes. So we're thinking busy bags for families with young children, palm fronds on Sundays that go to people, hymnals, communion elements, paper bulletins, just something so there's something tangible in your hand if you're worshiping in a space other than this, but you're still part of this worship community. And then another community that we thought about were our children and getting them involved, and that's how we got to Kids Should Ring the Bells. We could ask them to be greeters, we could ask them to be the name tag police so that people actually do wear their name tags. We're already really good about having them be readers, et cetera, but just keeping our children involved.
Yeah. I think the name tag police is something they would absolutely love. Okay. Some excellent ideas. And so just so you realize, I've just put the first one in there, but they obviously came up with some excellent ones that are very immediate term and longer term, and we're going to keep that. So that, just so you know, the Sacred Hospitality Group, we are going to keep all the notes from the room so we can kind of digest that, keep all the notes that you guys collected here as well, so we can think about what are some immediate things we can do, what are some short term, what are some longer term, what are some further in the future things that we can all consider. And so already we have some excellent direction that we can take. Okay, so Charlie, I think you're up.
I have a confession to make. I lost all control of that group. I tell you, so one of the things that I think this gathering here in the sanctuary and in the small groups, in our small group, reflected is the fact that the desire and need people have to have conversation, dialogue with each other. And so we had a conversation that spanned from Arkansas to Utah. But so we didn't follow the directions. We adapted the directions, okay? So we did follow, but we adapted them. But basically, we came up with 5 areas here, and you can't see that, so I'll just read it. We believe that the small group interaction is really important. That's the nucleus of a congregation, okay? And everything that's the launching pad for everything. And we think, and I heard these conversations about what used to happen here a long time ago. And so the question is, how do we renew some of those activities as a means of going forward, okay, with a new kind of future to ensure the sustainability of the congregation. And the second had to do with, no, you can't write very well, that's okay, yeah. I can't read very well, but at any rate.
So the one about attracting others, inviting others to those of us we're on the hill or thinking about the church, and for us getting off the hill. Yeah. So both inviting people in and going out and meeting others.
That's right, leaving the hill.
Yeah, leaving the hill. And then the one that had the most votes of the 4 was engaging in relational connections with others who have different life experiences. That's very different than, bringing items that people need. Not that that's not important, but this is about relational connections. And then the other one, which probably kind of connects with that, is re-engage more fully with our multi-faith communities and friends, and with that group as well. So that engaging piece and then the renewing small groups, they were almost tied.
Yeah. So our number one item is engaging in relational connections with others with different life experiences. That could be ethnicity, that could be age, that could be life circumstances in terms of low wealth or whatever. It could be any number of things, experiences that are different than our own. And then if you want to just narrow it down, you can just say ditto, you know.
So I'm going to ask, how would you do that?
How?
Yeah, so.
I mean, you give us 10 minutes, you tell, now what now?
So there was, okay. So part of it was intentionally inviting people. The other thing that I noted is we are having a lot of visitors, and so there are people who are finding us anyway. So it's not exactly the in those experiences, but you might find out that some of those folks are even coming here already, and so part of it is doing our stuff inside. But again, about making those connections and getting us out of here and off, is kind of those two kind of go together, and connecting with people with different experiences. So, which means, maybe we, that some of us go and we worship in different faith communities. We do, we take time so we have an idea of what are going on in other places. So, what did I miss?
No, you said it all. But really, the key thing that I heard as a newcomer,
yeah,
as a newcomer to the congregation, one of the things that I heard though is that the congregation has been involved historically in some really vibrant kinds of activities. Okay, and so some of that was thrown off as a result of COVID. But in this post-COVID kind of era, there's an opportunity to bring back, okay, and perhaps intensify some of those activities. So they needn't all be brand new things, okay? But it's the renewal of things that existed previously.
Okay, so if I were to start something tomorrow to do this, got an idea?
Yeah, well, we had a conversation. I was trying to use my teacher voice. So Dawn will be happy. We had our very first idea we talked about that became our stumbling point, but I think is actually exactly this, is we said, what if we go out into the community in small groups to volunteer together in various places and make then commitments over time. So like every Tuesday morning, St. Mark's does the breakfast at Shalom Center, or whatever. I mean, different things. And that builds a relationship across time doing it, but we also move into that space together so people recognize this community together, and sometimes it's a little less scary, and maybe you can involve kids, and offers a lot of different opportunities. Habitat build.
Tutoring at Fairview or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe some still do go to meal share.
To meal share.
Yep, go to.
Yeah, we repackage together.
And I think that some of those things that also talked about how relationships within those groups formed, and those formed, groups within those who were going out to do things, but we're also connecting again. I think that relational piece was important. But I will just say that we met in the room where the nomads meet, and so there's kind of, the air just goes to a lot of conversation that happens in that room, and so. And most Sundays we're looking for Jimmy's shoes, so anybody wants to help.
So I think this is good, and because this gives you something tangible. You go into the community, you've got that small group element that you guys were talking about too, but it also goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning, right? Be very purposeful in terms of how you engage with other demographics. And that was one of the things that became one of our priorities. And this can be, right, let's think about what demographics we go after, and let's put together a small group to go do that. And so, yeah, so it's good. Okay, excellent. Okay, so our last one, I think, Jimmy, is your live.
We don't even have paper because we met online. So, and that was Dan Hughes facilitated, Maria Schmitz, Suzanne Inglesby, Christy Mitzstoffer, and Beth Crane. So one of the things that came up was our awareness that we probably need another lay leadership layer so that there is at least one person who is representative of each of these four areas. So if someone wants, for example, to read scripture, they don't have to call a staff member. There are other people who are helping collect, saying, part of the things what we noticed is that because staff answers a lot of questions, stuff gets dropped. It just does. And so we want to be able to have a greater sense of that. And that came up, but what was clear is that this group was valued the fellowship spirit of this church, by which they meant all are welcome, not just including the GLBTQI issue, but children and others, and who are welcome for who they are. And so one of the things that says to us is that when we do church events, that we both celebrate that and are intentional to see when we've missed, where there are gaps, where we have not done that, because there are so many areas where we can live out our calling and our welcoming and affirming statement in doing that. And so, one of the things that we really talked about, though, we listed different kinds of fellowship activities. One of the questions that arose was, at this juncture, coming out of COVID, is it best for us to concentrate on interchurch fellowship, that is inside our own congregation, or broaden that? And we decided that it was better to lead with the former, knowing that our internal fellowship opportunities have hooks that are welcoming to others if we do it well, right? That we have some events here, and we mentioned things like not even waiting for the picnic, but having maybe a summer gathering on the lawn with cookout, whatever, and something that would be fun, that would be welcoming people in. What we really have concretely to offer that I think is pretty interesting is that there is a church life team now, but we think it should be reinvigorated and restaffed, and we have names from the people who are in our Zoom who are ready to join up with Mary. And Mary, you still here, or did you have? Okay, so Mary, we'll talk. We've got people who want to help to make some of this stuff happen. But we just think, we think this just needs to happen. We need to start doing it right now, and that will allow some of the both inviting that we want to have happen, but also, as we saw it in Dave Tanner's gathering yesterday, I hear it from your meeting yesterday, people want to see other people. They are eager to see other people and be welcomed into that. So that's us.
Okay, so what is it again?
That was fellowship. What now? That we're going to reinvigorate the church life team, reinvigorate and restaff, and especially, and we think there could be, as you said, lower hanging fruit. There could be some simpler things that we could do, but have at least one big outdoor gathering sometime this summer, well before the picnic. We think we can pull it off. And about that second service, I'm just kidding. Anybody?
So we have a lot of ideas, we have a lot of direction, and I think where we're at now is thinking about where do we go with all of this. And so it's great that you have names, right? I think what we would encourage you to do, and Claire can jump in here too, but where we want you to think about is, what are you excited about? What would you be excited about helping out with? Would you be excited about coming up with a small group, right? Or coming up with an idea, or going into a certain area and seeing if you can, round up some people who would want to engage with others outside in the community, right? This one's pretty straightforward. We could do this, but your team has quite a few ideas. There's other things that we can already start with too. And this group, when they talked about childcare, I remember walking out of there thinking, wow, that's something that if we could get this going, I think this could be a great thing. So this, finding ways to go out to the community, and this, I mean, they're really highly related. So I think it's a good thing that we're coming up with very similar types of things, ways in which we can actually do some of this outreach that we talked about. But I want you to think about where you might want to get involved, where you might be really interested in saying, you know what, I'm willing to help out there. And think about that. Claire?
Thank you. I would just say that, first of all, it was so great that all of you showed up in person and online. Doing the surveys in the weeks before this was really, really helpful. We are retaining all of the responses, all of the posters from the rooms, all the summary statements, all the handouts, because Sacred Hospitality wants to continue to process these ideas. We don't want to own them. The committee does not own this work. So run with anything that grabs you, because the key is people who will do the work, be the hands and feet, and ask other people, because when we ask each other, we show up, just like today. So don't hesitate to live out your passion for any of these, or reach out to anybody here, anyone on Leadership Council, anyone in Sacred Hospitality, any of the staff, if you're ready to get going on something and you want some help. I'll also extend an invitation to those of you who are interested in possibly working with Sacred Hospitality as we meet to process this information, to decide how to best distribute the content, how to recruit participants, etc. Because, you know, we're building something and we don't even have a blueprint. So you're welcome to join us. We're actually meeting again. We're calendared for Tuesday, May 10 at 6:30 in room 8. So there's your invitation. Anybody on Sacred Hospitality have anything to add before we conclude? Or Jimmy?
I don't need to, I'll say it for you. I just wonder if there's some way, just because the Baptist in me remembers, is there some way that if people have energy in this now, they can leave their indication before they leave the room?
Yes, absolutely. Take your name tag and give it to Jim. Jim, take your name tag and give it to Jim, and we'll get in touch with you. And then you can tell us more about what you're ready to do, okay? Because I think we'll be able to tell who you are and how to reach you. Yes? Thank you. David's asking for Sacred Hospitality members to stand, please. Yes, what else?
So I just have a suggestion to make, and that is that there be some kind of reporting back to the congregation. So if there could be a moment during worship service that there could be a reporting out in terms of what transpired, direction, I think that would be very helpful.
We'll do that. If there's nothing else, I'd like to close with a prayer of gratitude. Our God, we thank you. We feel your blessings. You put the thoughts in our minds and the words in our mouths that we might build the church for all people, that we might welcome them, that we might help one another connect and grow and learn in faith. We pray all these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.